You know that just as good as I do.
Well, we were walking from Young People's Society.
Yeah, on a Sunday night.
I was staying, and he had Ray in the car with him. And then he asked Iva, didn't he?
No, I asked you, and you wanted to go with me. But Iva didn't want to go with Ray.
Oh, so
and he had the car, so what do you do, huh? So we just kind of kept talking and joking a little bit, you know, as we were going. And finally, Wilma said she wanted to go with me, so she insisted, I wouldn't hurt you to go with him for once. So I guess that kind of convinced her that I wouldn't kill her, you know. So, so she went with him, and she stuck with him all the way through, married to him. Got about 5 kids, I guess.
So, where was this?
Right on
East of Borkhill, right on the Port Sheldon.
Yeah, on Port Sheldon.
Right in Port Sheldon, east.
But it was a gravel road in them days.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they'd always walk home from Young People. That was custom in them days. Every church they had Young People Society at night. Didn't have church services. They had church services in the morning and afternoon, and at night you had Young People Society. And so then they would kind of walk down the road to show they was available, you know. And I found out her name was Petrulia, so I had something to talk about. I said, I knew your Uncle Roy Petrulia from Byron Center. And then she told me about her other uncles. And, yeah, that's the way it got started.
So what kind of car? So this was
I
your
had
friend
a Model.
and you had a.
I had a Model A, but when I started going, the first date was in I think it was a Chevy. Don't you think, Ma? It was a Chevy?
You mean Ray's?
Ray's car. It was a nicer riding car than my own Model A, but
and he always had some perfume up in the by the visors, something that would make it smell nice.
So did let's see. So what? How old were you when
I was 21 when I got married. We started going when I was 19, and I guess.
Yeah,
and you must have been only 17.
I was 17.
So you got married when you were 19.
Right.
Okay. So do you remember like what you did the first date? What kind of stuff did people do for when they went on dates back then?
Well, the Young People, of course, would have a program, and in fact, she and her sister Ann would go out singing sometime to other societies. Mm-hmm. And one time, she didn't know I was coming, and she had to sing that time in Borkhill. That made her kind of nervous. And
Yeah, I believe it.
Where did you get married?
In the house.
Right in the house.
Right in the house.
By my parents.
By your parents.
Yeah.
And how many people were there? What was it like?
Well,
some friends, Tom Roseman and Millie.
Friends.
And of course, all by our own. After we got married, we lived upstairs. We had a little $8 oil stove, and where she did her cooking on and frying and whatever. And we had a $47 kitchen set, and we had a $48 carpet on the floor in the living room. It was kind of a pretty carpet. It really was a nice, cozy little room. And we had an oil burner in the corner, and with a dial on it. You could turn as high as you want. And the bedroom was a cold ice box on the west side, you know. Oh, we got by all right. And then, of course, there was no plumbing there. We had to go we had a pot upstairs, and if you have to go at night, you go in there, see. But during the day, we just had the outhouse. Had a little walk going to that.
When was Mary born?
Halloween.
Halloween.
But
And 45.
45.
No, or was it
45. It was a year and a half after we were married.
Yeah.
So at first you had married, you were upstairs still in that house?
Yeah, she was born upstairs there in that father's room. And for a nurse, we had Mrs. Youngreich. She was a neighbor across on the next road, New Holland Street. And she did that kind of work. She would be a midwife for some of the ladies that wanted their babies in the house. And the doctor had no objections to having it in the house. In fact, As long as you want to put some blocks under the bed, raise the bed up a little. So I made some blocks and stuck that under the legs. We were poor. We didn't have a lot of money to go to the hospital either, but in them days, more of them would be born at home. You never read that today, so-and-so born at home. But in them days...
it was fairly typical.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'd do it again, though.
No, I wouldn't either. No.
Too much for risk.
Yeah.
And boy, she had a difficult birth too. I mean, she had an 11-pound baby for the first one. Boy,
wow. That's a big baby. Yeah. So Mary was 11 pounds?
Yeah, right.
Wow.
Didn't he have a scale right there, you think? Dr. Kimmy?
I suppose. Yeah, I suppose he did.
So Paul was born in the hospital?
Yeah.
But my dad wasn't one.
No. He did. No. He was always hungry, wasn't he?
You mean?
Don.
Yeah. Yeah, he could eat. Be John Steenwyk is my great from my father's side, and the other I never knew Grandma. Yeah, he lost his first wife, and he got married again later, and then he got 2 children with that second wife, and one of those turned out to be a preacher, and that was also a John Steenwyk, and the other one I forget just what he did. So, that's as far back as I can go, because they lived in Chicago, so I never did talk to them very much.
And that was
my grandpa.
Your grandpa was John Steenwyk.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And they lived in Chicago, and then your parents.
My parents first lived in Chicago. They got married there, and. How did that go?
They came from overseas, didn't
they came from. My dad was 17 years old when he came across the pond,
Okay.
Yeah. And I don't know how old my mother was.
Did your grandparents, or did your parents come over with your grandparents then? No, my dad, he was only 17, and I don't, that's one thing I really don't know. My dad never talked about that. I just talked to my brother Herm about that here last week, and he said, because somebody wanted to know more about that, and I said, talk to my brother Herm, he's 4 years older than I am, he might be able to answer your questions. Oh, okay.
But he told me last week that he wasn't much help to her either, because he says, Dad never talked about a lot of those things. So.
Did he talk about his childhood at all or anything before he came over?
No, not much. My mother, she would skate in the Netherlands on the canals, you know, and she did say that, but I don't remember my dad ever talking about that either. He was on the quiet order, and he never was feeling 100% either. He had, I think he had a little mental problems or something, schizophrenic or something, because he didn't always feel right. If he was in a good mood, you know, then it went all right. But
so then, what about your mom then? What was her maiden?
She was a Canal, Alice Canal.
Okay.
Yeah. And as far as her dad and mom, they stayed in the Netherlands, and yeah. I know one of them had, I don't know if Grandma had red hair or not, but she had a sister that had red hair, which don't have anything to do with this, but yeah, they're quite a big family too. And she left a couple of her sisters in the Netherlands too that didn't come out this way. So I never got to know. I did meet one once, but I don't remember what her name even was no more now. They talk Dutch always, you know,
right,
so
right.
It's a little hard to communicate.
Yeah.
Like if it'd be in English.
So, did she come over when she was?
Yeah, I don't even know how old she was when she came over. It must have been about that time too, I would think, because they got married in Chicago, and I don't know how old they were when they got married.
So they got married in Chicago.
Yeah.
Now,
And my dad did cement work first in Chicago.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then, where were they from in the Netherlands?
Groningen.
Okay.
Yeah, the province of Groningen. Yeah.
And then, so he did cement work in Chicago.
Yeah. He worked for my Uncle Camille. That would be his brother-in-law then. And that's where he learned cement work, kind of. And later on, he wanted a farm. So he started farming, I think it was Hudsonville first. And on Van Buren Street there, the house below the hill there. And then later on, he farmed on shares in Hudsonville too, but that'd be a little further south.
Shares.
Yeah, he would share with the owner.
Oh. Okay.
Yeah, the people by the name of Direct, and that house got blown away with a tornado, so that ain't there no more. And then my dad's brother-in-law, in other words, my ma's sister, lived right next to them there too. But them houses are both gone there now. They raised celery on the ground instead, I guess. Yeah, so.
Okay. So in Hudsonville, and then.
Oh yeah.
What's your? Yeah, go.
Yeah, and then he wanted to farm on his own rather than shares.
Yeah.
So he had a chance to buy a farm in Barn Center, and that's where I was born, on 100th Street.
And then, do you remember that farm then?
Oh yeah, it's like a wilderness today. It's all willows. None of them farmers are farming no more there. It just turned wild. The muck wasn't very deep. It had a lot of marrow in it. And my dad, you got them windstorms, it would blow his crops out, and then he got caught with some frost, and he had a lot of, we don't believe in luck, but unfortunate things happening. And so he went bankrupt there, see.
Oh, okay. And what years would that be?
Oh boy, I was born there,
in that farm. So.
And you were born in 20?
I was born in 21.
Okay.
Yeah.
So he was there in the 20s?
Yeah. I would say mainly in the 20s, yeah. Because I was in the 4th grade when we moved out of that house, off that farm. And then we moved south a couple miles by a little one-room schoolhouse. So that's where I had my education, my university over there.
And where, south a couple miles of Byron Center?
Yeah, Byron Center, which we called Herps. There was a store, what we called Herps, there where we could go for our groceries.
Uh-huh.
And yeah, we didn't have to go too far to school there. That was kind of nice. Only we could walk a quarter of a mile. But our folks being Dutch, they never helped us to get to school or talk to the teachers. Not like they do today. It's way different. And,
you just went?
Yeah, and my brother and Lou were both in the same grade, in the 6th grade when we moved out of there and moved to Zeeland. The only reason Lou is in the same grade I was, I flunked a year in the 4th grade. Now some people can't imagine that I flunked. They thought I was smarter than that, but it happened. We had to buy our own books, and my folks were poor, and I had to sit with my sister to study, and she was a year ahead of me, so they don't study very good. So I suppose that had something to do with my flunking. I couldn't concentrate that way. And so then we moved to Zeeland, and the only reason we moved to Zeeland is my dad had debt with the Mookie. It's Black River now, I guess they call it, but it used to be John Mookie. And he had a brother-in-law that lived near us there in Byron, and he sold celery boxes. And my dad bought those boxes, but then he had debt he couldn't pay for them. So this John Mookie, he'd like to have that debt paid, so he offered to move us to Zeeland on Taft Street, where the hospital is now. And let's see, how did that go? Yeah, then my brothers could work in that factory too. I think they got 17 cents an hour.
How old were you when you moved to Zeeland?
I was in the 6th grade.
Okay.
Yeah, I always remember that good. Then we first went to the Zeeland Public School, and then our preacher got after my folks and said he'd like to have us go to Christian school. So we transferred from the public to Zeeland Christian School in the 6th grade there. And I did awful good in the 6th grade. In fact, they had a problem on the board. The teacher asked, anybody know how to work this problem? Well, the reason I knew, I just come from the public school, and they were just a little ahead of the Christian school in that particular book. So I learned how to do that problem. And so she said, if you know how to do it, would you come to the board and work it out on the board? So I went up there and did that. Oh, them other kids, them kids smart. You know, they thought Lou and I were so smart just because I knew that one problem.
Yeah.
And we never played ball. We were kind of loners. We were poor, you know, and we felt a little shy. But then we got to school there, and then the kids all wanted us to play ball. So we finally did. And well, after that, I was big for my age, and I could hit that ball over the back fence, you know. And the principal gave me permission to go around the block to go get that ball if it went over. Of course, I was probably responsible for it to get there in the first place. So that was kind of an honor.
So, see, that was like during recess and stuff like that. When you were 6th grade. Yeah,
and before school, maybe if it was early, we'd
go play ball.
Yeah, and sheeny. They'd probably sheeny with just an old stick. We call it hockey today, but just an old crooked branch of a tree, I guess we used, and have a tin can to hit, you know. But that was a lot of fun too.
So how big a class did you have?
I had, I think it was close around 30. I think it was. Or is that a little high? Would you know? I got pictures of it. It might be in there somewhere. I don't know.
So, So, all right. So, what was life? What kinds of things when you were that age? What kind of stuff did you do at home? Or, I mean,
we'd go to the library quite a bit, and we'd get books, and we'd get done with one, we'd bring that back and pick up another one. And we would also play football in the backyard. The neighbor had a kind of open lot there where I could play a little football, get your shirt tore up and that kind of stuff.
okay. So, you get in trouble when you get home with a torn up shirt?
I don't know. My mom wasn't that hard on us. She let us do quite a bit.
Yeah.
When we was kids too, in that house that we moved to by that Jones' schoolhouse, they'd let us go swimming. They didn't seem to worry about that we could drown. That was a deep lake there. I could swim up to a pole, and then I could hang out of that pole and then get my wind a little, and then I'd go back, you know. But yeah, we talk about that every once in a while when we get together, and how they just trusted us and just didn't seem to worry.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you couldn't buy a job in them days over there.
Let's see, you're saying when you were in Zealand you couldn't get a job? Or?
Oh, there you could.
Oh, before that?
Yeah, just before that. My dad, he didn't have no work. The county gave us money, our groceries, I think about $4 a week or something like that. And the church was going to help us too, but my folks weren't too happy the way the church handled us. The elders came over one time, maybe with a deacon. Today it would be a deacon. And they didn't like it that we bought peanut butter. And my brother Herm, he don't like butter, so he had to go to school with dry bread if he didn't have peanut butter. Of course, even with peanut butter on, they get pretty hard to swallow, but yeah. And I heard that we heard our folks arguing. We went in the basement when the elders were there, and we could kind of hear them. We got kind of huffed up. Yeah.
Wow. So that doesn't sound like too much fun.
No. You sleeping, Mother?
No, I'm not.
Oh. Of course, that'll show in the picture that she can sleep.
Yeah.
That's one of her habits that she always did have, you know.
That ain't taking pictures now, is it?
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, you're on.
That's all right though.
Yeah.
So, okay. So Zealand, 6th grade. What happened after that?
Well, then I went through the 7th and I did all right. In the 8th grade, I did fine. And then when I graduated, the principal wanted me to go to high school. He says, you got to go to high school. And the kids wanted me to go because I was tall. And they thought I'd be a good basketball player, see? And, but my folks were poor, and they felt as though I had to work. And I maybe only made $5 a week. So it didn't, today that won't mean sick 'em, you know, but in them days $5 did something.
So were you making $5 a week after 8th grade, or did you even were you able to make that much on jobs when you weren't in school?
Well, no, there wasn't much we could do. I'd go around the neighborhood trying to make a quarter, you know, or whatever they paid for shoveling snow, shovel the sidewalk. So I got a few jobs that way. Yeah.
So then after 8th grade you worked?
Yeah, then I start working east of Zealand on Mings Crossing for a guy by the name of Mings. And they had a big family, but it seemed like they wanted a boy with it to feed the chickens some wet mash at noon and gather eggs, and they also taught me how to drive horses on a hay wagon. So those horses, you had to hold them back a little so they wouldn't go too fast, because with that hay loader would go so fast and the guy in the back couldn't handle it. So they would have me kind of hold in the reins a little to slow them up. And yeah, that was only about 2 miles east of Zealand, right below that big hill there.
So you just walked there?
Hey, I think I might have. I don't even know if I had a bike. When we was young, we didn't even have a bike half the time. Yeah, we were poor, I'm telling you. Yeah, but I might have walked it or hitchhiked it. Because I don't just remember that one. I know when I worked on the farm where Dave lives now, and then Sunday mornings I would just stop the Greyhound bus. Sure, I'd just flag him down and he'd stop and pick me up for about a quarter and have me in Zeeland. And I'd go to church in Zeeland. But sometimes I would I would hitchhike if I could before the bus would come. If somebody wanted to pick me up, fine. And quite often I had ride with ministers that had to go preaching someplace. And I always remember that one minister, Reverend Shearing. He picked me up and he asked me about where I was going and so on. And I guess I told him I go to North Street there. Oh, I got to preach there this morning, he said. And so I always remembered what he preached on. He preached on Amos. And it says in there, how can two walk together except they be agreed? And so I always kind of remember that since he picked me up, you know. But there was some Catholics sometimes would pick me up. Yeah. Oh, it was interesting when you look back.
Okay, so after 8th grade, so you worked at that one place. What kind of stuff did you helped with feed the chickens and so forth?
That was the first place. And weed sugar beets, sugar beets. And then, the following year, I guess I worked for my Uncle Albert down in the muck here in Sinkhole. It was really my dad's uncle, but he always called him Albadome in Dutch, and be Uncle Albert. And he would have me cultivate the corn with one horse between the rows, and he had me weeding celery, but that was a hopeless case. That celery had so many weeds, and all that porcelain, that flat weed that grows out, and there was no weeding to that. And then he had a couple big boys in the house yet. They thought instead of pulling them weeds, because you pull the plants out with it, you know, they each took a knife and they would just kind of slice along them weeds so the plant could get some sunlight, you know. And I don't ever know how it panned out on the tail end. Maybe he never harvested it all. I don't know. Yeah, but I had quite a lot of fun there with them older guys too. They liked that. In fact, that's when I had my first date. I was only 14. And that Ben over there, he said, Joe, you got to take out a girl. I said, I'm only 14. Yeah, but I don't hurt. He said, I'll take you along in my car. And he was going to have his girlfriend, and he was a lot older. So I asked a friend of my sister, Ann, and she would go out with me. So we went out, but we didn't go out for coffee and stuff like they do today. And I didn't even hardly know enough to bring the girl to the house, to the door afterwards, you know. You learn that all as time goes along. So I always remember that was my first date.
And then, and you were 14, okay.
Yeah. And that was at that farm. And then what happened, Jake Oates used to own the farm that I bought, see? And he wanted help to haul in some hay. But the way he did hay, you rake it with a dump rake. And then you put it on piles, what they call opetjes in Dutch. And you push it all in from both ends. And, make a little stack so the wind could kind of go through it and dry it up and save all the leaves. And then he'd pitch that up on the wagon to me. I had to load it on the wagon. I never did that before either, but it was always the first time. Anyhow, he was impressed with my work, because later on he wanted a permanent hired man, and he come to my dad and says he knew we had a bunch of boys, John and Herm and me and Lou. And Lou worked for him too. He liked Lou too, but Lou was so small. When he cut them big corn stalks, he could hardly balance them, you know, when they're so top heavy. But then I was bigger and older, and so then he says, I got my eye on that one. He pointed right at me. When Dad says, that's all right. So then I worked for him.
So how did you first, So you just worked there just to do hay and stuff?
Just hay for half a day.
How did you end up even finding that?
Well, because I worked for Uncle Albert, and he was on the main road too, by the sinkhole, and they knew each other. I guess they probably both went to the Beaver Dam Church. And anyhow, he stopped in there and needed help for that afternoon, so that's how I got to working for him. And I was quite strong for my age, and he did the hardest work. And I thought he was so strong, old Jake Oates, because he was quite solid, and he pitched them big forks full of hay and pushed them up to me like that, you know. And so then I started working for him, but I think I was in 1936. I'm not sure of these dates.
So you were roughly 15?
Yeah, I imagine. So, yeah, let's see, what was I going to say about that now? Yeah, and then I worked for him. He taught me how to hitch the team to the lawnmower, or to the field mower. And he warned me, so that's awful dangerous, he says. So be careful as you don't get your fingers in that knife or your feet. Because if them horses move a little bit, it's ground driven, you know, then you get your foot cut right off. So, and I always enjoyed that job, mowing with a team. Yeah. But then, the wheat had to be harvested. We had some wheat on top of the hill, I believe. And yeah, in the meantime, he died. That first year I worked for him.
Really? So
yeah.
You didn't even work for him
I didn't,
year?
No.
It's right during the first summer?
First, yeah. Yeah, so, yeah, then Mrs. Oates, she wanted to keep on farming yet. She was a workhorse. And she was pretty handy at fixing things too around the place. So she asked me if I would want to keep working for her, even though Jake wasn't there. Yeah, she said, I might just as well, I got nothing else to do. And see, what was I making then? I don't know if I was making $20 a month by that time. I started out by Ming's at 10, and then I went to 15, I think, to Uncle Albert, and I think maybe by the time I got there, I was getting about 20. And yeah, then yeah, we had a thrash, so I had to go around to the neighbors and thrash for her, you know, and they would thrash by us and blow the old stuff right in the barn all loose. A dusty job if you had to work in the straw. But we didn't do that too much. Our barn was quite big, and we didn't have that many acres, so I got to know a lot of those neighbors south of us there where your dad's farm is, Floyd Boss and Stan Boss and Hoppins, and that's Don's dad. And
because would you end up working?
Yeah, I had sometimes they would hire me. Garrett Boss would sometimes hire me too, but he paid me 90 cents an hour. I thought that was pretty good. Yeah. But some of it was exchange help, because we needed help too to do ours, you know. So then we didn't fill silo in the old days. We just had an old silo that Mrs. Oates' brother built with some blocks. The doorway started out quite wide in the bottom, and it gradually tapered up like this, you know. He didn't make all the doors the same size. It's kind of crude. And yeah, and then of course you didn't have no silo unloaders. You just forked it out.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we did one time. Then Mrs. Oates wanted to fill silo, and we just had some doors made by the lumber company, and we'd start out with the widest one, and then maybe the next one you make that an inch shorter, and we'd put 45s on the end of it, kind of, and then I had to wire them in, tie them to those rods by the silo. And then we'd run tar paper front the doors, and kept good, as long as you could keep that tar paper up there, you know. Yeah, and of course, when I started with Mrs. Oates, all we had was horses. We didn't have a tractor. I forget what the first team was even like, but later on when I farmed, I had a little black one. He was a real spirited little thing. I put him on that old dump rake. He always liked to trot if he could, but then if he would do that, that old dump rake would hit the seat, because they'd come up so fast in the back, they'd coast right up against that seat. So I had to kind of hold him back just a little bit. So I like to rake fast, but not, you know, knock me off the seat. And yeah, and then I worked for Mrs. O's for 3 years, I guess it was. No, wait a minute. I rented the land of her for 3 years. I don't know just how long I worked for her, but I rented the land for 3 years, and then
In 48 we bought it.
yeah, and she wanted to know if I wanted to buy the farm. Yeah, I thought, boy, that's a big step, you know, buy a whole farm for me, a young kid like that yet. But that was after we was married, and we lived upstairs there.
All right, so you bought the farm
In 48. Mm-hmm.
And so you would have been, so you were 19? Am I doing my math right?
Well, no.
48, 21, 28, 40. Oh, you're 20.
I got married in 43.
27. You must have been about 27 then.
Yeah, it could be. I don't remember the ages. Your dad's better at that than I am.
Yeah, he's better than I am with numbers.
He can go back, you know, and tell this happened so and so. I can't do
We
that.
got married.
We got married in 43, right?
Yeah, so let's talk about all that stuff now. Let's go back and talk about, well, at some point...
I got to tell you this little thing a minute. Well, in 48, I didn't know if I wanted to buy it, because it was a big step, and I needed $2,000 down, that's all. Mm-hmm. And then I already bought a tractor too in 48, and I borrowed that money of Ben Blaukamp and Ari Skur, two of my neighbors. They're good enough, they had enough trust in me that I was going to make it. 4% interest, and but then I paid Ben Blaukamp back pretty quick. I don't know where I got my money, but it seemed to be available. And then this farm thing came up. You know, boy, I thought, no, I should have kept that money and bought the farm instead, because there was no rush paying that tractor off. So I went to both them guys again and asked if I could have it back. And they both let me have it back. And I bought the farm. $2,000 down, only paid $7,000 for the whole farm. It was only 51 acres. But of course, yeah, that highway went through there in that time too. Part of that, it would have been a little bit bigger otherwise. So, and yeah, then my neighbor Harvard Haig, he wanted me to keep a team of horses, because he didn't know if he could farm with just a tractor, with a Ford tractor. So we was going to try that once. So then we didn't have to change all our tools over. We didn't have to cut our tongues off or anything. We left a long tongue for the wagons and the stuff. And I don't know if I did that 1 year that way, but I thought, shoot, if Harv can do it that way, I can do that too. So I got rid of the horses. A nice team. In fact, I bought the team from Harv. It was a nice, hard-pulling team. If I had to have a brooder coop moved or something, I just hooked a team to that, and boy, they'd really tug away at it. So that was in 48.
Well, I really never knew my grandfather Petrulia. He died before I was born. And my grandmother lived till I was 9 years old. And that was from my father's side. And then my mother, her mother was never very well. She always had to be, I don't know if they took such good care of her, but she never talked to us at all, really. You know.
You couldn't hardly understand her.
No, we couldn't understand her.
What was
That was
their
her.
names?
Idema.
Idema.
Idema, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. But my grandfather,
Tell him how he started,
you mean
when he came across the old country or whatever.
Grandpa Idema?
Yeah.
Well, I don't even know that, do I?
Well, you said he cut the trees in the woods over there and made it a house, didn't he?
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Yeah, I want to hear about that.
Yeah.
He came across from the Netherlands, and he cut the trees down by his own property, and first bought the property, and then he cut the trees down so he could build himself a house. He built it actually for his own parents, and while they were gone or still in the Netherlands, then he built the house for them.
Wow.
Did they ever come here then?
I think so.
So that was, let me make sure I got this straight. That was your grandfather?
Yeah,
Okay, and where was this that he did
in
this?
Blendon.
In Blendon.
Yeah, North Blendon.
Okay.
Tyler Street, wasn't it?
Yeah, I guess.
Right by that little town hall there on 72nd. That's Tyler Street. You're on the, go east from there. That's where they...
But we never came by the folks that much. My grandparents,
You had to go there to work.
once in a while.
In a clean house and stuff like that.
So
Oh, and he has some arthritis, huh? His knuckles
Yeah.
were big, huh?
Knuckles were real big.
So,
And he always had to take care of my grandmother.
because she wasn't well.
Right.
But she also had an uncle that lived with them too yet, Uncle Harry. But he was all right. He a little different too, but he farmed by himself. But when he needed help, he'd come by her dad and say, "I need some help," and then we'd go out there to help him. In fact, we even trashed over there with our old trash machine one time.
So,
But he never married.
No, Uncle Harry never married.
No.
He had cancer, a spot on his forehead, he had cancer. So then Dennis Walters, that would be his nephew too, and myself, we'd go by turns, take him to Grand Rapids for radium treatments to cure that cancer. It did seem to help. Yeah.
so, and then your parents, my great-grandparents.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How old was your dad when he died?
76.
And you know what year that was? Or?
72, I think. Quite sure.
He could tell stories.
Yeah.
Oh my.
Did you know him?
No, I would have
No.
been like 2 or 3 years old.
Oh, he was.
Your dad would have known him yet.
Yeah.
And our other boys did too, because they had a little laugh about him sometimes too.
See, because, yeah, what I remember is, I remember great-grandma Petrulia a little bit.
Okay.
But I think we had family reunions over at the park or something, or over in Allendale maybe at the school.
Well,
Jim.
yeah, I don't know just where we had them. We've had them right in our yard by us on the farm.
Yeah,
Too. Yeah, we'd all come on the farm.
yeah. So, but I remember her, quite well.
Yeah.
But
Skinny little lady.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I don't know how she raised all of us.
13 kids.
Yeah, how many? Yeah,
13.
Yeah, and then she got pregnant with Ellen too yet, because that's the 13th one, but.
Yeah.
And they didn't really want to be pregnant, But he turned out to be a preacher.
Yeah.
A nice fella.
Where did he live? Where did he grow up then?
2 miles east of Borculo.
Okay.
The house is still standing, but it's got a different
Siding.
siding on it and things like that. But when I was 16, I worked out for $5 a week. And my mother could very well have had me help her at home.
They had a hand pump outdoors. Have a tin cup hand.
Yeah, and we had
nice cold drink, huh?
We had to heat the wash water on a stove in the back room, You didn't have a hot water heater like they have today. But we had to
Use
heat
a copper
the water.
boiler, right?
Yeah, and cut up a bar of soap in the boiler, and that would melt.
That would melt.
And that would. But we'd wash, and I guess I don't know how we
The old wringer washer, huh?
wringer washer. Yeah, and you'd have to hang it all out yet. And
Of course, now you used a wringer washer for quite a while. I remember
Oh,
having
yeah.
that in that back room when you
I
lived
know.
together.
She didn't want much to do. She's still that way today. She don't always go for that newfangled stuff.
Yeah.
And yeah, she kept the old wringer wash. So we had extra tubs and everything there, and a stand where they could set on, so she could.
But I didn't know, I didn't, with automatics, you just got to sort of do it all along. You mustn't do the whole wash in one day. But see, we were used to that, to do it all in one day.
Yeah.
And that was just more than you could, you'd have to rinse for a long time, and you would
Hang it out on
wash.
the line. And
Yeah, and hang it out on the line.
in the winter, it'd be so cold that stuff would come off. It's like a board, so stiff, all froze stiff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But then of course, we didn't have dryers either,
So you had to put it out even in the winter
Yeah.
to dry.
Either that
Yeah.
or in the house. Something.
In the house, we had
Everybody
clotheslines.
had ropes in the house too, with some hooks somewhere that you could hook them on and take them down after you're done with them.
And in the winter, you could hardly see outside, because the clothes were.
You had a duck under the clothes to walk
Yeah.
from one room to the other.
Can you imagine that, having a big family and then having everybody duck under?
So, yeah, 13 kids and
Yeah.
and probably not that big of a house, or was it a big
Well,
Yeah, it was pretty good.
pretty
Yeah.
good, but
The kitchen was small, I guess, huh?
Yeah.
And, where you always ate, that was
Yeah.
pretty good. And the living room was. They had a piano in the living room.
So, like, what did your parents? You lived there the whole time growing up, then? There.
well, yeah. At least the times that I didn't work out, I worked in Wyoming Park for a while for $5 a week. I don't know if I was about 16. I was taking care of a small
Good size.
child, but yet I think I was homesick too. Got homesick from my own
Did
mother.
your folks bring you there? How'd
Yeah, I think my dad brought me. But see, they were relation to Uncle Garrett and Aunt Georgiana, I think, the other Veldmans.
Oh,
But
So, where did you go to school then?
Fort Hill.
Okay.
they got a restaurant there today.
Yeah.
Boy, is it busy there. Have you been there?
Not recently, but I've been there
I
before.
passed this morning. There were cars there.
Yeah?
You know that Bowles restaurant's closed up.
Oh, yeah.
And you had to move that for that corner there. And oh yeah, busy place.
So, what was school like?
Well, we had good teachers,
She was
and
a good student too.
I always
Better
tried to
than I
be
was.
the best.
So you get good grades?
Yeah, I did.
Mostly all A's, wasn't it?
I don't think I ever had any C's.
You probably had a B, but mostly
Yeah.
A's always, huh?
Yeah.
Spelling, you can't beat her. I know if I gotta find a spell a word and I know how, I just ask her. I was pretty good at it myself at school. I got good marks, but not as good as her. No.
What kind of stuff did you do to, after school or before school?
Well, I don't even know much about that no more, Mike. It seems like that time was all devoured by coming home and,
Helping with all the other
yeah, helping
kids?
all the kids.
You
And,
even helped milk once in a while, didn't you?
yeah, I did when I was about 11.
Yeah, so you milk cows by hand.
Yeah. So, I don't know, we were never had enough time really to,
Well, in the summer they pick berries and pickles, and them things keep growing,
Yeah.
You ain't done it once over. It's something like mowing a lawn. You mow it, and 2 days later you gotta go over all the same business again,
Yeah.
That's kind of the way with strawberries and pickles. Yeah.
but we hated to pick pickles because your hands got so, that stuff
Kinda
from the
prickly.
pickle kind of gets all over your skin. What shall I say? I wouldn't know what to call it.
And you don't care to eat them, not in the garden where it's the strawberry you pick. and eat.
Yeah. Okay. So, then you went. Did you go all the way through? You went all the way through high school then?
Oh, I never went to high school.
No, never went to high
Neither
school.
one of us.
I never
Eighth
had.
grade?
I never had the opportunity.
You just had so after 8th grade, was it after 8th grade when you went and worked at $5 a week, or were you like?
Well,
How old were you when you did that? Roughly.
Yeah, I wouldn't know. I don't think you worked there anymore when I started going with you. Because
No, I don't
you
think
worked
so.
at, you had 2 jobs. You worked for this
Hart and Cooley,
Hart and Cooley, but the other one, Bond Aluminum?
Bonaluna.
Which one was first? And when she
Bond
had
Aluminum.
night shift too, she had to work nights and she gets so sleepy.
What'd you do at those places?
Well, I was a spot welder.
Okay.
And inspector, weren't you?
Yeah.
For, what, for bearings? You had to
I think
inspect
so.
bearings?
Yeah.
And that was that.
That was during the war, see.
Oh, okay.
So,
That bearings, was that Bond Aluminum?
yeah.
And the other one was red.
Hart and Cooley, yeah, that was, yeah, they made registers. That's on the east end of Holland there. Yeah, I worked there too. But that seems like so terribly long ago that I worked out. I really never, after I had a family, I never worked out.
But you made pretty good money. And it was kind of during the war, then wasn't it?
Yeah.
You come home with $40 a week.
Yeah, I know.
You make no more than I was. I was making only, what was I making? Yeah, but when I got married, I think it was up to $60 a month. That's all I got.
Wow.
But they were good to me. They fed me too, and they furnished a bedroom so I could sleep there. But I always had to be there. I guess like for milking too. I didn't expect Mrs. Oast to milk all them. There weren't that many, but too many for one person almost to milk.
How many cows?
We probably had 10 maybe.
Okay.
Yeah.
And was that when was it first? When did you first have machines? Was that still?
Oh,
by
let's
hand
see.
at that point?
I know. I talked to a guy about that milk machine. He's from Overijssel. John. What's his last name? Doesn't make any difference. But he. I talked to him about it. I didn't think he was going to come over and put one in right away. I didn't really tell him to do that. I thought maybe I could try one out, But he put it in, and he sold it to me, and I didn't even have the money for it. But then my brother Herm, he had some money. Well, he says, I'll borrow you $300. He says, so he helped me out with $300.
So was that before you bought, or when you bought the farm? When you were renting it, or after you bought it?
Let's see. That must have been after I bought it, I guess. I wished I knew the year that I bought that. I really don't recall. Maybe if I would think of it long enough, I could come up with
Somewhere
something.
around late 40s, probably. Though.
I suppose.
They had a toilet downstairs, so.
Yeah, Mrs. Oates
In the
had a toilet
bedroom.
downstairs.
Because her husband had to have it, but.
So, and at that point, there was just the highway was there.
Yeah, it was not cemented. It was
It
just
was dirt.
yeah. Yeah, the one highway was there. The
Yeah.
blacktop on that side, that was there.
And the tracks.
And the tracks, yeah, those are there. But the new highway that was built around in the 41, 42, somewhere in there.
Mm-hmm.
And it was all singed. And one night they plugged up all the ditches, ditches, not on purpose, but so then our farm couldn't get drained. There it rained like mad, and our cows were, foot of water they're standing in, we couldn't milk them. So we went to the lumber company yet, I believe, and put in some planking to raise it up. And then one night we drove them all on the barn floor. See, in them days you had barn floors.
Mm-hmm.
And that's higher. Was higher up, and that way they could stay dry there. And then I guess maybe to milk them, maybe we just drove them in this other old chicken coop where I used to pack my eggs. Yeah.
So And 48 then is when you bought the farm, and that's when Mrs. Ost moved out.
Zealand.
Yeah, she moved to
Zealand.
Zealand. She bought a little house there, a cheap little square house, and we helped her. We shingled it yet. I don't know who helped me. Maybe my brother Eddie might have helped. Seems to me he did. Yeah, then what happened? Alice got a boyfriend. That's the old maid, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And Mrs. Ost told me about it. She's got a boyfriend, but she was a little worried about it because he liked to drink a little, see. And she didn't like that. But Alice, she wanted to keep going with him. She was too far along. She didn't want to give up on him. And then that farm came up for sale, and then like I said, I just bought that tractor and stuff. So I didn't have the money, but her dad, Joe, he said, "That's a good farm. You better buy that if you got the chance." Yeah, I said I would, but I got to have a couple $1,000, you know. And her dad, you could never go to her dad for money. He had hard enough scraping for his own. So I went back to the other two guys I was telling you about, got the money and bought it. And let's see what's the next. Right now I can't think of just what I wanted to say next on that. Yeah, and then then Alice was going to get married, and I was a little worried about if she gets married to that guy, he might want a farm. And then I'm going to lose out on that deal. So that made me. Her dad prompted me, and then my own.
Better get it done.
Yeah, get it done. So that's what we did. We went ahead with it and bought it. I bought her. I guess I already bought her cows and horses because, I had to have them for some income right away, and then they could all stay there, and she didn't have to go have an auction or nothing. There wasn't enough stuff there to make an auction worthwhile anyhow. Yeah. Pretty lowly beginning.
Yeah. So when you first bought the farm, then you had, 10 cows or so?
Yeah, probably 10 at the most.
Okay.
And a few calves, you know, and a team of horses.
What else?
Yeah, in them days you could buy a cow for $150. Yeah, and chickens.
Yeah.
You know, it's had some chickens. Yeah.
And then and then somewhere around there you got a milking machine.
Yeah.
But you milk into cans and stuff, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, we didn't have no cooler. We had to bring it to, there's a little milk house. I don't know, is that there yet or not? I don't think so. By that electric pool.
Oh, yeah.
And there was a kind of a flowing well in there. It just streamed slow, and with an overflow pipe. So you just let that stream, and that water would stay cool, and that would cool the milk. And we never separated on that farm. You know, I've worked at a farm by Steve Anmo already. You turn a crank on a separator, and they turn real hard first because they're geared up so high where that milk has to shake that cream out or whatever it does. Mm-hmm. And so we never separated, but we would sell the whole milk. And Egbert McGilly from Barclow, he would pick it up. But first we had old Herm DeVries, an old beat-up truck, that thing, an old rack was hanging crooked and everything. They had to throw all them old cans on that rack. That hard work too. Mm-hmm. A lot easier today with a hose. And
so you had a first tractor you bought while you're still running the farm, and what kind of tractor was that?
Ford.
Okay.
1948 then. Later on I bought what they call a Jubilee. Ford is celebrating their Jubilee, 50th year. And they made a nice little Ford tractor with it had live power takeoffs, and the older ones, you put the clutch in, everything would stop. Mm-hmm. And it wasn't very handy until later on. Although that when I bought, I don't think it had a live lift. See, whereas the other one, if you come to the fence and you want to keep that thing turning, but you had your clutch in, you first had to put a neutral in a minute, and then started to turn again. See, whereas that Jubilee, that was a live lift, and you could do that right in the go.
And later on, I put a live power on it too, so the PTO would keep going if I wanted it to. Just a lever on the side here. It worked real good. And I had an extra lever up in front there too. I could. It was a high-low. It already had a high-low, but then it had that lever on the side there. I like that for mowing hay because you could go like a bat through the field. And one of the neighbors watched me go one time. Oh, he couldn't believe it.
Yeah. So, let's see, what kind of stuff? How many acres did you just farm? Those 50 acres, or did you farm already shortly after that more land than that 50 acres?
Yeah, I started farming this land of Ben Blaukamp. I bought that of Ben. I don't remember what year that was. It could be, I don't know, 55 just kind of rings a bell to me. And I bought 57 acres of Ben Blaukamp, and that's where Paul is. I bought that of Ben Blaukamp for 11,000, I believe, 57 acres.
Okay.
And there was also this land on this side of Ben Blaukamp belonged to Dick Skur, and he had 30 acres there, and he would sell that to me for $1,500. Oh man, I couldn't resist that either. So I bought that of Dick Skur for $1,500. I think that was in '55. I couldn't prove that right now, but maybe your dad would remember. Because I know Ben always said, Joe, you need some more highland. Yeah, I said it would be nice. I could raise some grain too, rather than just corn. So then the first year I rented that of him, before I bought it, I rented my brother John's tractor. He had a little Ford Ferguson. And I asked him if I could use that to get that land plowed. And that was all right. So that's how we got started on that. And then later on I bought it. Yeah.
So when did you start the egg route? When was that?
Oh boy. Wonder when that was. I know Harvard Egg went to the retail market before I ever did consider the route. And old Ben Block would always say, boy, at Harv every Saturday night, he said he goes up that hill and he's got his money made. He sold eggs and roosters, at the Leonard Street Market. A lot of Polish people over there. And I thought if he can do that, maybe I could too. So then I tried it too. And I was at the market first. And then there was an old Italian man. He wanted to buy all the roosters I had in that crate. But he had no way of getting them home. So he said if I would bring him home, then he would buy all those roosters. So that's what I did. I took a chance. I didn't know the guy up in Madam. I didn't know Grand Rapids. I didn't know any streets. But he knew the way to the market. And after once I was by his place, I could tell that was Franklin Street, just to the south of where I was parking. And I kind of did know Franklin Street a little bit, and I knew that would hit Granville Avenue, so I could find my way home. And then the following week I'd go to the market again, and I don't know if I always sold them all or not, but it went pretty good. Eggs too. Them Polish ladies, they would come and they see them nice bright brown eggs quite often in the days. You put them all on display that looks nice in rows, but later on it got cold, and you know how I am when it's cold.
Yeah.
And then I thought instead of then I'd go the route first of all. I started up a route by that Italian guy on Graham Street. And then I would sell there till about 10:30, 11 o'clock or so. Then I'd pack up and head for the market, because then it'd be that a little warmer standing around there and stuff. You had to put a canvas over your head and all that stuff. And but then
one week I did that, and it was going so good on that route that I thought, what do I want to go to that market for? I ain't got that terrible much stuff left, and why don't I just try to make the route a little bigger and start a longer route? So that's what I did. And then one customer tells another, and it wasn't hard to get customers. Of course, what helped, we credit the people too. Maybe not right away, but pretty quick. And no, that's how that route got started. Finally, we had to go with two vehicles. You know, we had so many stops to make, we couldn't get them all done. Yeah, Paul always liked that too. He would like to still. Once in a while, he talks about it. I'd like to try it. Yeah, but I said it's different today. I says, all them streets where we were on, they ain't there. They're there, but they got factories and warehouses and all that on there.
Yeah, it isn't trusted today, I don't think.
They ain't really trusted. Scott and Betty did it for a while too, and it wasn't hardly safe anywhere. You know, there's a lot more drugs around today than when we did it. They'd drink, they'd have whiskey or something, but I don't think they muck it around with drugs like they do today. And they'll almost kill you for a quarter, you know. Yeah.
So how many years did you, I mean, before, Scott and Betty, I know, took that over at one point, but you started that route, when did you start that route?
Yeah, that's something I wouldn't even be able to tell you. I went with a Model A at first, didn't I? And I put a rack in the back end. I think I made a kind of a rack. I could set that chicken crate and I put the eggs inside. And later on, I used to go with the Plymouth. I bought a Plymouth. A brand new Plymouth.
Yeah, then Dave was a baby when we had that Plymouth.
Yeah, it was a 52 Plymouth. And I'd buy springs in that thing once in a while. Maybe I loaded too much stuff in it. And, but so that was in 52. But I had that 46 Chevy though too, after that Model A. So it must have been in the 40s.
So oh wow, so
yeah.
You started that pretty
soon after I got married.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so.
And then you kept on doing that for a long time, didn't you?
Yeah.
So all the time growing up, those kids, they did that egg route, didn't they?
Sure. Yeah.
Because of the farm?
Yeah.
How it worked then?
Yeah, I got deferred in the Army.
They wanted to have food still too, huh?
Yeah, they needed food. Yeah, I wasn't producing a lot, but a little bit helps, you know.
Yeah.
And some people get a little jealous of that, though. We kind of could hear about a grapevine, you know, that I wondered why in the world I didn't have to go, and a lot of the other guys did. And like with Paul too. Paul none of my boys got in the Army. Your dad was on the way.
Almost.
You bet, he was close.
Yeah.
We'd raise corn, we'd shock it. And then in the fall, you just tip them over and sit on your knees and peel them out by hand. I always kind of liked that, if it was damp. If it was dry, it's just so dry.
Bet you wouldn't like it today anymore.
Oh, a little while would be all right. No, it's too slow today. Everything's got to go fast today, you know.
Yeah. So.
But Mrs. Oates, she could husk corn too by hand, but she didn't want them tipped over on the ground. She had a wooden thing made, and she must have had that already when I worked for her. She probably did that every year, you know. You'd lay those stalks on that wooden rack, and then I guess she'd have a board across there, and then she could sit right on that board and peel them out. But then they were all on piles out in the field in that cob corn. And then you had to pick that up in crates later on. And yeah, that was with horses yet. Because I remember horses pulling that 60 crates up that railroad track. They had to do a little scratching, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I always liked that job though. I got to sit on them crates of corn, driving that big load of nice yellow corn home, and then you get by the crib, and there was a couple openings in there you could dump it in. And, yeah.
So, when did you start doing it with like a picker?
Yeah, I went to Archibald one time with Garrett Gelder. Garrett wanted something too, and I wanted a picker. And so I bought a corn picker out there, the Wood Brothers. But what year that was. I don't know. Because once I start picking, then I didn't care to shred stalks anymore. And her dad, he wanted to still shred stalks.
Oh.
And he didn't have a picker, but we bought a corn husker together. And then we husked corn with the machine for a while. Roll the stalks in the barn, and what the cows would eat was fine and dandy. If they didn't eat it, you throw it on them for bedding, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But I wished I knew all those years. But I wouldn't be able to tell you that just when that all happened.
When, then at some point you got a silo, or the silos that are there, are those the only ones you ever, was there older silos?
Yeah, there was a little one east of the barn that we knocked down later. And now that first silo we built was built in '69. I remember that.
That one that's...
No, the very first one. The first one on the east.
Yeah, okay.
And that was in '69, and I think maybe the next one, around '71 maybe.
Okay.
Wasn't too much later, because I didn't have enough. As our cow herd increased, and the boys wanted to get in on it. Mm-hmm. And then that big tall one, built that in '80. Yeah, this is yours. Here's Mom, Grandma, right
Oh,
here. It says what Grandma.
Right on the right.
8th grade, see. McDermott, the elementary.
See, and this was that Peter Bootsman they were talking about.
Yeah, Pete Bootsma, right here. This guy. Well, that looks like a picture of my dad and my parents.
Okay.
My mom had a nice bunch of black hair. Yeah, that's our whole family. Well, this is Brother Jake.
Mm-hmm.
That's me.
Okay.
That's Brother John. That's Herm. That's Lou. Sister Ann. My mother. Brother Eddie, the one that's deaf. And my dad. And that's Annetta. And that's Stella.
It was left to right.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, this is Brother John, Herm, and Annie, and that's me. See how fat I was them days? They used to call me fat. Instead of Joe, they call me fat. But I slimmed up later on. Bare feet, us kids always run around bare feet.
Where was this picture taken?
Oh boy.
Is this in Byron
It'd have to
Center?
be in Byron Center, I would think. Because how old do you think I'm there? See,
I don't know, 10 maybe,
Well, let's
or
see.
not even that much?
now, who's this baby that Pa's holding? That would kind of tell you. If this is me, and that's Lou, and that's Stella. Well, where's Jake then? Or could that be Jake? Brother Jake, and then Annette and Eddie aren't on here then yet, see? Because that was before that.
So if Jake's maybe 1 in that picture, does that look like a 1-year-old?
Yeah, close to it, I guess.
Oh, this
Petrulia
is
family.
your family, Grandma.
Who's this, Ma?
Viv.
Viv, Art, Johnny, Mother here, Gord, Pete, Elmer,
Doris.
Joanne, and Grandma, and Janice, and that's Ellen, the preacher, and Grandpa, and there's Ann, and that's Ruthie.
All right, so that's your parents, right?
Right.
What do we have?
Oh, here's Mom again, both of these.
Now that would be like the picture of the little Dutch girl, if there ever was one. Huh?
Yeah.
Right there,
Yeah.
with the haircut and everything. It's
Yeah. I don't know.
teenagers still then, or early 20s?
I suppose we're pretty young yet.
Probably about 18 there.
Yeah,
Yeah,
be
probably.
my guess. Next page.
Oh yeah, there you get the babies.
Oh,
This
yeah,
is
there's-
Mary,
Oh yeah.
and this is
Yeah.
your dad, and
My dad. Yeah.
and Mary again.
Oh, here's. Boy, he was.
Yeah,
Jason looks a lot like my dad.
that's what they say, huh?
Yeah. Oh, there's Betty. The next page.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so...
And this is when the road went through. And we had an old coop there by the road. And then this is our driveway, and it's all sand. And
Right in by the farm?
Yeah, right on the farm there. That muck pile, we call it a muck pile, but that's that good land right out in front of the house there. That was just a huge pile of muck. And they dug that all out of the road and filled that hole with sand. Dump trucks worked about day and night, just dumping sand in there all the time. So, and then that stuff was so soupy, my horses got stuck in that one horse got stuck in that soup. But I don't know if I pulled them out with the other horse. And there's Mrs. O, see? Oh, somebody got a question mark there. But, oh, they're wondering what baby that is, maybe?
But that is Mrs. O?
Yeah, that's Mrs. O.
Mary wanted to know what her first name was.
So this is
Bertha.
Yeah,
This
that's
is you?
me.
Right?
That's, yeah.
What car is that?
That's a Model A.
Well, probably my Model
It's
A.
in that,
Is it
it's
probably-
that old shed next to the barn.
Yeah, and that's Mary, you think, and both those?
I think
Yeah,
so,
I
because
think so.
they thought a lot of Mary. Yeah.
That must be Mary.
I know Brother Lou didn't have any little ones either, and he always thought so much of Mary. Oh, she was a cute little girl.
No, and this is the
old barn.
The old barn.
Before it was painted.
Yeah.
See, and this was a shed, just a lean-to shed, and then I had a few tools in there, but when I had to haul corn, then I'd drive through there with those crates, and then there was cribs on that side. I could dump that corn in them cribs.
So now, would this be the side of the barn facing the house then?
Yeah. Yeah, that's
Yeah,
what
see, and then we made a chicken coop for that shed.
Yeah,
and
I think
we,
part of the wagon is showing on here yet, isn't it? Isn't that part of a wagon?
Yep. Looks like it. What's the story?
That's me and my wife,
And
some little baby,
Mary, I
probably
guess.
Mary.
In front of, what are...
In front of the old garage, west of the old garage I used to have. Right in the front lawn by that, we had a tree there in between the house and that garage. Or something. There's my old tractor.
So that would be for the Jubilee or the one before
No,
that?
that's not the Jubilee, that's before that. Yeah, got a scoop on the back end that I could haul dirt with. I brought some of that black dirt around the house with that scoop. And I got my finger pinched in that big bugger. There's a handle on there, and when you raise it way up, it could get between that seat and that hurt. It bulged right out, so I went right to Dr. Hager. And then his wife helped, and she kind of kept that bubble down while he sewed it up. I said, that's going to hurt you tonight, but I was surprised. It wasn't that bad. Yeah. So here's my old homemade barn cleaner.
Yeah. Is that one of your first great inventions?
Yeah. I built that around 1951, I believe. I got a welder. I said to that welder, he said, you think I could build something? Oh, yeah. Of course, he wanted to sell a welder, but then he tried to encourage me, you can do that. So I went to some junkyards and stuff and got metal, and I also had to get some new bearings from different places. I had to make some kind of a clutch on here. Yeah. It worked after a fashion, but I made it so you could swing it, so you could maneuver over the whole spreader.
Yeah. So then, wasn't this the one where you had to pull it back? It was a belt, and you'd roll it up or something, or pull it under, and you have to pull it all the way back?
Yeah, that was this unit coming up here. That would roll up on a big belt right behind this. You can see the belt there, right there. That would be winding up on this sprocket. And then that's why then you had to get your clutch out of gear so that you could pull that belt back by hand. That part didn't go so bad, but it didn't always want to climb this little hill here. If you got a lot of urine with it, it gets so soupy and then it kind of float. So you almost had to stand there with a fork and kind of
Help it along.
Help along just a little bit. But it's easier than fixing it out of the windows and keeps my walls cleaner. And here's that old silo too, see? That I was talking about. That's the original.
So it was a kind of a cement block type silo.
But this old thing cost me 3 cows one time.
Yeah?
Electrocuted, you bet. I had Herm Lukes, the electrician. He wired that for me. He's got it overhead here now. But he had them wired. That wasn't too smart of him to do that. He went straight this way.
And the cows come down the hill here thirstier than ever, you know, want to drink. So they'd crowd between the barn cleaner and the silo here and try and get at this water tank. We had a water tank right there. And then they broke that conduit pipe right out of the box. And those wires were shorted directly on there. And when I got home on a Saturday night after the egg were out there, laid 3 cows. And she was going to do the milking, but lucky she didn't touch anything because I think the juice was still on. Herm Luke's the electrician said he don't know why that thing didn't trip, but it had to trip it way in the basement. He should have had a switch box right there. I wasn't too smart of him either. I should have known better too, I guess, but he being an electrician, you'd leave it up to him kind of.
Yeah.
But I tell you, I put a switch box in there pretty quick after that. So then I could pull the switch down and have it off during the day.
Yeah.
Even if they'd tear it all apart, they wouldn't get no poke, you know.
Right.
Yeah. Well, there we're pulling some heifers to the pasture.
With a team?
Yeah. You know, heifers, they're hard to lead if they ain't used to it.
Right.
And I didn't want to be fighting them all the way to, we had to go down by Stan Brower there, you know, where he used to have his corn, sweet corn and stuff, right on the highway. And back in there, we put well, in fact, it'd be that land that I bought later on of Dick Scurr. That's the land. We let them pasture there, and I guess they could drink in the valleys, because I don't remember ever giving them water. They must have got some there in the valley. But to get them over there, we tied it behind a wagon and thought let the horses do the hard work. We're working at the thresh machine with Johnny. It must have been a hot day, and Johnny working his bare shirt, his skin.
Huh, so that's the thresher.
That's the old thrasher, a big machine.
Wow. Must
This is inside the
hope you didn't have too much lawn to mow with one of those old
Yeah.
mowers.
Yeah, it looks like we're mowing that little fella right over there.
Yeah.
I don't know who that is either. Is that Dave or Don? Or remember that mower we bought to the Hutsville Hardware? Then that thing pushed so hard it wouldn't always cut.
I don't even know who that is.
No, I don't either.
This one you're roofing, I think.
Yeah, here we're on that steep roof. Yeah, I don't know if Herm is helping with that.
Is that right up on the barn roof?
Yeah, that's our big barn. Oh, there's somebody here too, see? I forget if we did that all ourselves.
There we go.
It could be that Herm helped too yet with
Dad, look at
that.
all the stuff I made.
Oh, yeah. Well, you got that blue dress in your hand there, Ma. That one I had in my hand the other day.
Yeah,
Let's
baby.
see, whereabouts is this take? This is an old farmhouse yet, ain't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's where that is. Oh, there's that sleepy. See? I figured that we had one there somewhere.
Oh, yeah.
See, you didn't wear glasses there yet, I don't believe, did
Oh
you?
man, that's a card. Yeah.
So is that Mary with a cat
Yeah, I guess so.
in front of the barn?
Yeah, my Model A.
Model A and the Chevy?
Somebody's Chevy. If I didn't see the
That was
model.
probably my folks.
Oh,
Oh, that was your dad's 1938 Chevy, I
I
bet.
think so.
I bet. Yeah, the barn looks better here than it does today.
yeah. Well,
The roof needs a new roof, really, and the boards, a lot of them doors are open. But you know, Dave, he takes to spend money on it. He don't make nothing out of it, you know.
I know.
You don't know if you ought to let it rot away or burn up or what. Oh yeah, that's Dave and Mary, or Don and Mary. I was sick when this picture was taken.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wasn't feeling just right, but it panned out pretty good. Look at the wide lapels on that coat, huh?
Yeah. That would have been in the 40s then, or must have been.
Yeah, I suppose before I was married, I
It
guess.
looks like a coat from the 40s, roughly.
In them days, I used to use a little pin under my tie to keep the collar together.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's your brother Pete, eh? And you and Ann? Oh yeah. Look at Pete's white
Yeah,
hair.
this piece from the States.
There we go.
Some more egg rounds, huh? There's
But
Mary.
it still
Oh yeah,
comes
she's showing the carton there.
apart.
One of your customers?
Yeah, that's what, I don't even know who it is. Yeah, that's me. I got a pencil in my ear so I can do some figuring. Yeah. Oh, here I got my hand behind my neck again. That's your gas stove, yeah, Mark?
Yeah.
I look a little scared there.
Or that's an electric stove there. Yeah.
Is that electric? That could be. Oh, that's Gord on the bottom. And then I think that's me. And then Elmer, would that be Elmer on top there, Ma?
I think so.
I could do that when I'm happy.
Gord must have been pretty strong. He could hold me on his shoulders like that. And how do we get that other guy way up there?
I don't know.
Gord bottom, Joe Steenwyk middle. Question, he didn't know who was on top. Taken July 4th in 49. Joe and Wilma's house. Yeah, I know it.
Here we are.
I would say that's Elmer on top, but I don't know.
A little bit of
Oh,
music.
here I'm playing the organ or something here.
Yeah, by that. That was on that tour then.
Yeah, is that Germany? What does it say?
Playing organ.
That's probably our own organ.
No, but it was on that tour there.
Yeah, somebody took a picture of that then too, didn't they? Yeah, I'm not sure now.
Well, where were we on a tour?
Well, we went to Europe then,
To Europe.
Netherlands and France, and yeah. With Ulla, remember Ulla?
Yeah,
He was our guide.
that's Grandma and Mary and
Janice
Janice.
and Ellen.
Ellen and
That's
Don.
Ellen, the